Yo, yo, what's going on?
What's up, Brian?
Yeah, didn't know if you guys could hear me. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Yeah,
Got back to Steamboat late last night. 15-hour drive home. Wore me out, but I'm happy to be back in Fort Worth.
Hell yeah, man. We missed you. I know last week you were in transit most of the week skiing, all that kind of stuff. So good to have you back in the saddle, and you know, missed you guys yesterday, but excited for this week. I think we have obviously the show every day at 3:00 Eastern, but we're working on a pretty awesome guest for tomorrow. Not gonna leak that, but just trying to coordinate some schedules. I guess it could be the following day, but should be pretty cool. But Matt, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Glad Sean made it home from that long drive yesterday. We didn't hear from him, and kind of wondering, man, I hope he made it home okay. But looks like he had a great time over there, and It looks like a great place. So yeah, excited for you.
Amen, amen. Well, curious, Matt. We talked a little bit, and in the last from last week to this week, we've seen quite a big shift in Bitcoin. Right, not crazy, but up about 8%, which is sort of par for the course. Everything in the last week has been up about 8, 9, 10%, except for Solana, who's hitting 20%, which is great. So we see Bitcoin at 88K, and kind of that. You've gone back and forth quite a bit in the last couple of weeks talking about, does it retrace back to that kind of 75 spot, or did we see that bottom? Curious what your take is, now that we've had a few more days in this.
Yeah. So I've been flip-flopping a little bit on which one's more likely, but as of yesterday, our show yesterday, morning show, but I have flipped back to that. We'll probably not see the 75 level again. We'll probably go above 90K and then up to all-time highs. And I think that could happen easily late April, May. So yeah, I'm fairly bullish now.
So you're still seeing that kind of ramp up. You're thinking, mid to late April, possibly May is kind of when. I mean, is that just when things start to pick up, or do you see kind of a violent uptick as we talked about, about a month ago?
I have no idea. The reason why I don't think it's just going to go straight up is because every time Trump says he's not going to do tariffs, and then he does say he's going to do tariffs, the market is just so hooked on the tariff thing that it reacts to it. So but the market's waking up to the Fed and the easing and getting away from tightening. So yeah, so that I think the market will stop focusing so much on tariffs, realize that there's going to be a lot of liquidity injected into the economy and the stock market. It's going to turn on to a risk-on environment, and so I think that shift happens soon, sooner than later, and I think it's happening now. But I look at the S&P 500, and it looks like everybody is still reacting to whatever tariffs news there is.
Yeah, do we hit a point where that just gets priced in more or less, right? Or at least there's more. It's not going to have the trigger reaction or the emotional immediate reaction, because it seems like the shock and awe is going to lessen as it stays in place, or at least the discussion of it is staying in place.
Yeah, I think that the market is overreacting to the news, to tariffs in general. I think that the bigger narrative, the much bigger reason to turn risk on in the market for any institutional investor or firm is that there's going to be easing. There's going to be they're going to be lowering rates. They're going into easing instead of tightening, which at the top of the last bull market is when they changed policy and went to tightening instead of so they started raising rates and pulling back. So now it's reversing. So it's really the sentiment that we've been waiting for. It's really what should be starting the bull run. Just Bitcoin went so low, as you know, I think it was manipulated. Well, there was policy, and then the whole FTX thing, and the government hating on Bitcoin and everything, and brought all that. Elon, the richest guy in the world, already owned Bitcoin, so who else is there to buy? Type thing. So the whole thing, it was the bull market was cut off pretty forcefully. I think it was deliberate, because as we went pro Bitcoin with the government, the banks, everybody needs to kind of get in. And I think that that's what brought Bitcoin from 15,000 to 100,000 so fast, is I think there's just a lot of money that saw that the government was going to be pro Bitcoin, and at some point we would be changing policy to quantitative easing instead of tightening. So, and then lowering rates. And now, since last Wednesday, we have the Fed saying that we're going to be lowering rates all the way through 2027. So we could get well below even 3%, I think. So in interest rates. So yeah, I think it's looking like a good scenario for the rest of the bull market.
Got it, man. I appreciate that update, Sean. What's your take on that? You kind of follow the same logic, or not so much?
Yeah, I think Matt's pretty spot on there with Bitcoin. It's been a weird, kind of a weird bull run. You haven't seen these huge, like alt season yet. So I think the market is settling down to the Trump administration, and I think it's good for Bitcoin. I think we get back over 100,000 soon. I think we could even get to 250,000 by the end of the year. So we'll see.
Yeah, again, this is like my first time going through this, so if this isn't accurate, let me know. But it seems like a lot of the momentum. I know that all the momentum and all the market shifts don't have to come from the federal government. It's almost the antithesis of the spirit of Bitcoin. I get all that, right? But it looks like there is going to be at some point a reserve that comes in, right? And you're going to see probably other nation states follow, institution, maybe retail, all coming in pretty heavily on that Bitcoin vein, right? And to me, Bitcoin dominance, I still think is around 60+%. Wouldn't that consolidation and all of that interest in Bitcoin create kind of a monster alt season? I feel like it would just, if the more Bitcoin dominance now, especially if all those factors line up, ends up being a large, big push in Bitcoin, but then it'll be reciprocated by an alt season that is kind of the same impact.
Yeah, if you're asking me, I mean, were you asking Sean? Sorry. Go ahead, Sean, on that one.
No, I agree. I mean, I think the Bitcoin dominance has been really high this whole bull market, so we haven't seen that change yet. But I mean, unless this is just, we don't have these 4-year cycles anymore in crypto. I mean, which could be the case, with all the states and governments buying Bitcoin, it could become just not so volatile, I guess. But yeah, I haven't people, they're like, well, I don't have any Bitcoin, or I just have a little bit of Bitcoin. I got to find my coin that makes me a ton of money. So people are always searching for that next 100x, 50x, whatever it is. But I think meme coins put a kind of a damper on the alt season. And so I think it's going to take longer for it to happen.
Yeah, like I would like, where does I agree. I hear you, and I wonder too, like if you went back 2 months ago, probably maybe definitely 3 to 7 months ago, is like if the excitement around meme coins was so high, and the air came out of the room like insanely quick. The narrative, it's no longer even there. It's not even like it dwindled, it just flat, right? So, not even so much as, where does that money go, but because it could be gone, right, or whatever, but where does that attention go? That's I think what interests me is there's going to be some sort of catalyst that receives that attention, right? And again, I'm not even talking about how much money is flowing, but what people are talking about and excited about. And what are communities going to migrate to? Right now, everybody's sort of community-less, right? You do have, you're seeing NFTs. I'm seeing NFTs a little bit more in terms of people rallying around a community. I'm seeing some of the communities from meme coins, even if the meme coin's dead, still making a little noise. But there needs to be something where people feel like they're a part of something, right? And gets that excitement. And I really do think that you look at right now, there's kind of a vacuum, right? And I don't think that lasts long. I think people are tribal. They're going to want to flock to something that has a community element. And I think at the same time, you're seeing a lot of momentum with Bitcoin, especially if a lot of these things play out the way that we all anticipate. So I see the kind of, that Venn diagram of Bitcoin and community overlapping just naturally, right? Or organically. So, do you think, I would say that's really good for ordinals. I think ordinals could have an NFT style run like we saw from the last bull run. I don't know. I think there's good and bad about that, right? Because right now I feel like there's a difference in quality between Bitcoin and other chains, right? There's an element of professionalism or at least stability that you didn't see towards the tail end of the last bull run with ETH, and obviously not in meme coins. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I could definitely see Bitcoin really being, the epicenter of a lot of that community attention.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's some really cool things I've seen coming with ordinals. The course on-chain monkeys, Katoshis. Looks like they're gonna add 2100, and they're moving them all over from ETH right now. They're going to be on block 9, or at least you can upgrade to block 9 450x sats. But I've also been looking at this Bitcoin Derby, and that's coming soon, and it's a horse game on Ordinal. So something new. I mean, we have Pizza Pets with the game, but this is actually you get a horse and it has a DeFi aspect. So if you stake your horse, you're going to get more points. And they're using AI versus AI horse, arcade horse racing game. So this looks kind of, pretty interesting, playing this whole game. And it's for Web 2 and Web 3. So you don't have to be a Bitcoin person with a wallet to play it. But yeah, this looks pretty neat. It's called Bitcoin Derby, and you can go to their website, bitcoinderby.live, and check it out. But just new things like that I see happening with ordinals.
Well, they had a bunch of horse games with NFTs on Solana and Ethereum. But what is new is that it's available for Web 2 as well. That's pretty cool. I really like that. That kind of goes along our the way we see things, where the way it should be. I'd love to see it. Actually, I'd love to see how that game looks.
Yeah, it has a Bitcoin. It has a runes element for the GameFi experience, they're calling it. So they're going to be using ordinals and runes, and just something new that I haven't seen besides the Pizza Pets, which I lost my Pizza Pets in like the first 8 hours because I forgot to feed them again. So, but version 2 is coming soon. But
go ahead, Matt. No, go ahead, Matt.
To go back on kind of the market environment and how this bull run started, and with meme coins, and how it's been kind of a weird bull run, to tie that into what we're talking about right now is so it's good that it happened earlier in the bull run, in my opinion. It's not bad for crypto, because it doesn't matter how many meme coins there are. It just matters what the liquidity, like the combined liquidity, is for all those coins. And so the money injected into crypto, just as long as that liquidity isn't super big, it's not going to take tons more money just because there's a bunch more meme coins to raise the total market cap of crypto. But one thing that it is bad for, with having a million different meme coins and everybody being able to create one, is that it mints less millionaires, right? So it's nothing like last bull run, where millionaires were being minted left and right. If you were there at the beginning of the bull run and to the end, and you probably knew somebody that became a millionaire, but not this bull run. I don't know anybody that has become from non-millionaire to a millionaire. But what I like about the Bitcoin, the Ordinal ecosystem, obviously we're fans, but it is that it is a newer ecosystem. There is less, there is more fertile ground. There's more of a technical know-how. I know there's apps that you can inscribe, runes and ordinals yourself, but there's more of a community aspect to it where you've got to build your community. So it's a little more difficult to be very prominent in the ecosystem. And so I do see the leverage play once Bitcoin dominance starts to fall, once there's less perceived upside in how much higher or how many more X's you can get out of just staying in Bitcoin. That's what brings people to start selling at least a portion of their bag to get into alts. And obviously they know that it's about time for alt season to start at some point. So that's another reason why they do it. And they bet on some of these things, these altcoins to get more Bitcoin. There's a little more staying power in the Ordinal ecosystem. I'm not talking about runes there. I'm not sure how much staying power that's been yet to prove itself, but I do see a lot of people playing in the Ordinal ecosystem in the remainder and alt season of this bull run. Of course, people will be playing in the meme coins on Solana, but I mean that whole narrative took a pretty big hit. Even Murad's coins went down 90%, but I mean I guess that's normal. I'm not hating on it.
Well, let me throw something out there, right? Because this is what I hope is when I see, let's say that there is, there's going to be more attention or there's going to be more prominence in the Bitcoin community, right? And we're talking about ordinals and all of that. My biggest hope is due to the construction of the Bitcoin community, right? The demographic, the style, whatever you want to call it, the professionalism, the maturity, I don't know, that's on Bitcoin. Are we going to see a different type of community emerge, right? Because think about it. Really what it is, community is built, let's say it's an ordinal project, NFT project, whatever, right? And then there's all of this engagement, right? There's all this hype. Right. Ultimately, there's a lot of attention that comes from a community that has PFPs and is posting and thriving, whatever. And, why is that happen? Right. Why are people constantly posting about that project? Is it so price goes up? I think, yeah. Right. I guess that's the outcome, but I don't think that's why everybody truly gets excited. I think it's an element of it. I think there's something about building something that has an impact that other people are looking at. You got there early. I think there's a big element of that, right? Like you said, everybody's engaging their asses off. Not everybody's becoming millionaires, probably less than the last cycle that you even see that. So what is the impetus for even trying to get that attention? I think it's just the natural fun of being in a group that's getting a lot of attention. That's it, right? And you even look at what are those communities doing, right? What are projects giving those communities to do? And there's games and stuff like that. And I get it. I think it's really neat. I think it's really, really cool. There's only so much you can do, but it always kind of hits me of look at us three, right? Now, granted, we might be out of the kind of that center of the bell curve of demographics for people in this space, but I think there's a lot of dudes in the space, right? Yeah, there's a lot that are young. I think they really gravitated towards meme coins, but there's a large chunk of the segment of this demographic that is late 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, right? And I feel like we're still playing in kind of an infantile way with all this, right? There's not everything being built, right? If things are being built so that it has an impact and it has attention, we're still staying in this little niche microcosm, and we're doing things that are only appealing to a small segment of people. I look at with the GME movement, right? Why was GME? Why was that great? Was it because people loved GameStop? Yeah, I think in the beginning, but I think really people liked giving a big FU to the traditional infrastructure or the financial markets that are usually gate kept. That big fight was what was so inspiring, right? Were people making money? Yes, absolutely. But I think the emotion behind it was that fight back, that this digital community of people fought back and beat the established corporation, right? That was the spirit of it, that David versus Goliath, that underdog story that really is the recipe for any sort of movement. And, you know, I think specifically on Bitcoin, if people are given something that doesn't have a ceiling to build, right? There's only so much you can do and type about, you know, price go up, right? Because once that narrative's done, once somebody dumps and there's nothing you can do about it, and a whale dumps all their ordinals or NFTs and it takes you 3 weeks to get back to that floor price, all momentum is lost, because the only metric that people pay attention to is price of that individual NFT or unit. And, you know, the big reason we came into this space was the idea of building a brand on chain, right? Taking that community and building something far larger. Of course, there is the intrinsic upside of price go up of asset, right? But at the same time, building something that has a lot of impact, that garners a lot of attention, I think goes beyond floor price. So I'm hoping that, you know, as we see the kind of tea leaves, right, of what the next 6-7 months could be, is, do we change the chessboard a bit? I feel like we've outgrown it. Like, I don't want to, you know, and I think the gaming side of things is awesome. Those brands I look up to their founders, I love it. But what I'm saying is, couldn't there be something more that has impact far beyond just this little microcosm that we're in? And I think when that happens, that's when you start to disrupt the traditional financial system. That's when you start to disrupt corporate companies that are built the same way they have through the VC model or whatever for the last 50 to 100 years. I think the real ingenuity is going to come out when a digital community builds something together that is not just to increase the digital community, when it's actually out there to disrupt far more. And, you know, I think whoever cracks that code is going to have one of the iconic runs of this generation. I think it's going to set a precedent. I think it's going to change the way that people do commerce. I think it's going to change the way that people invest in things. And until that happens, I feel like we're kind of in a spin cycle of doing the same thing over and over. Like, okay, well, this guy's now going to drop a PFP. Everybody get real excited. Let's see how long we can hold that excitement for until it kind of bottoms out. And then we'll wait 6 months and maybe it'll have a resurgence and we'll all pop back over there and say, rah, 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 we were there in the beginning. And then we'll hop over to something, because there is no permeance. There is no long life cycle of any of this stuff, right? You're going to have 1 to 5% of the projects have that, right? And I think that is magical when they do it. But, you know, otherwise we're just kind of doing the same damn thing over and over again, and hitting the same ceiling, bouncing down, trying to hit the ceiling again, bouncing down. And I think it's because everything's been so focused in specifically only having an impact in crypto. No impact outside of crypto, just impact in crypto. And I think we've hit a ceiling too many times.
Yeah. So well said. I think the crypto technology, the market, the community, it's kind of a merge of a lot of different things. It's figuring out what it is. The reason why we have a bear market every 4 years so far is because there's no like world changing, like this is going to change the world type of technology. There is, everybody knows it's there, so that's why they get in, but they don't know exactly what it is yet. Bitcoin's establishing itself to be part of that, obviously, but I think there is a lot more that is going to be figured out, and people are going to realize that as this technology develops. And the one thing that blockchain has done really well is, well, we'll just say Web3 is garner communities really well. It's gathered communities under a narrative, a meme, a collection better than anything I've seen, right? So the community aspect, I mean, the Bitcoin community in general, they're a strong community that has that share a lot of the same beliefs, and that's why it's done so well. So what can you do? The reason why people have been working so much more engaging, being part of communities, um, they're trying to because they realize something's there, right? There's community
Yeah.
there. So what do you do with that? I think obviously there's art, right? People love art. People can gather around a collection, own a digital asset. There's multiple ways projects are doing that. But what more? There's obviously going to be uh, a conglomerate of things that um, yeah. So I think that it's going to be, you can deliver more to the community. You can give them what they want. You can also bring that community and the blockchain tech to the masses without them realizing what it is.
Well, yeah. Hey, hold on. So
without them realizing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were
Go
done.
ahead.
You shook on mine a minute. Is like, okay, so and this isn't disparaging anybody or anything, right? But if you think about why people come to the blockchain, that first feeling as to why people bought into crypto and bought into the blockchain, right? It's this emotion, or I think it's big. It's really stems from decentralization, right? Crypto is your way to fight back against central banks and financial institutions. You can be your own bank. You have this sovereignty. Decentralization is the future. Let's fucking go, right? That is what got me excited, right? That's the powerful, I think, thesis as to why we're all here, right? And I think since from that point to now, I somehow don't get where we lost that, right? I mean, when we get excited about things now, whether it's NFTs or even ordinals, right? It's I feel like it's almost Billy Madison. I feel like I'm a big kid in a little kid's classroom. It's like we're playing with kind of, sophomoric or very basic level functions, and all of the enthusiasm is pouring through it, but it's not really the right vessel, so to speak, right? If you look at, let's say, even meme coins. What did meme coins prove? Meme coin proves a couple things to me. Number one is digital communities can get a tremendous amount of attention. That is a metric, or that is, that is an asset that anything in real life or in crypto, it's powerful across the board. The ability to garner attention and attract attention to something is massive, right? Number two is, I think meme coins proved that it can establish huge market caps that don't even make any sense, right? Things that if you told anybody in real life, it would be baffling. So you're able to get a massive amount of attention and a massive amount of excitement, and you're able to push monster market caps, right? But we're staying in the PvP within crypto because you're only battling with other crypto projects, right? So you're going to take from one another, and it just hits this ceiling where nothing goes beyond the space. Right. But those two things, right, those two assets of attention, high market cap, whatever, does not need to be confined to just this space. And I don't think you're going to have a tremendous amount of impact until you break through and have something that crosses over. Right. Because the recipe's there. You have all the ingredients. It's just what you're cooking is too small. And I think, again, I mean, you look at a brand that's tokenized, or having an RWA, or having a product, and using that same attention mechanism, and using that ability to drive market cap and really move capital. I mean, there is no ceiling outside of this space. All you need is that conduit that connects the two. And it seems so surprising to me that hasn't happened yet, right? I mean, you look at Pudgy Penguins, which people would say is a great example on the digital asset side, right? And I agree, they've done incredibly well. Their floor price is crazy, but the product is tough, right? The plushie toys, I get it. I'm sure there's data that shows how many plushie toys are purchased and how big that market cap is. I get it entirely, but it's not something that the demographic in crypto is going to buy a tremendous amount of, right? It's almost a disconnect. Like, I would get one for my daughter the first time I see one, but I'm not going to go out and buy one habitually, and I'm not going to it's hard to get a community to get excited about building the next big plushie brand or whatever it is, right? And I think the gaming thing is unique if it fits. I think there's a lot of attention on gaming. It is one sector of commerce, or it's one sector of the economy, right? I think it fits because it's digital. I get it, but it's also limiting because you're kind of just going after what people are purchasing on the internet only. I think when a brand truly uses the power of community and everything that we've learned in this space and apply it to something bigger, I think the outcome is going to be more oversized than people understand, because to get attention in a very crowded IRL marketplace is tough. To get a tremendous amount of people talking and pushing and building something together is unheard of. It's commonplace in crypto. It's never happened really outside of this space. Like I said, you see something like a GME where people rally around one mission. Then yeah, I mean, they make movies about that shit, right? But really, you don't see that happen too often outside of this space. So I think when a brand is able to, harness everything that we've done in this space and apply it, I think that the real world's not going to know what hit them, right? Because they're not used to seeing that. They're not used to seeing that attention, excitement. They're not even used to seeing capital move that way. So it'll be interesting to see. And I hope it's in Bitcoin, because I think that community, the Bitcoin community, is one that could bridge that gap. I don't know if it's from Sol up or Ethereum up. I think there's a disconnect there. I think Bitcoin has enough capital moving around it. I think it has a different demographic or a different maturity, whatever you want to call it, where something like that really could take hold.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we're just starting to see what's really going to take place on Bitcoin, with Ordinals kind of kicking it off in runes in the tech. I mean, you can make games on it. You can, put music on it. And like you said, these, real world assets coming to Bitcoin, I think, are going to be huge. So, kind of what we've been working on in the background. So,
dude, I agree, and I think it times well. Like the fact that it didn't happen, I think timing's a lot of things, right? You look at Web 1, Web 2, right? The brands that emerged usually were timed very correctly, right? When the mass market starts to use the internet more, Amazon is there waiting to capture all their fucking money, right? People start to use, Web 2 more. Facebook grows disproportionately because it's timed right? MySpace was too early. Facebook was probably right there at the right time. I think when you see, crypto now, it's all the stuff that we're saying, right? You're seeing a lot of attention around Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is a brand name that people in the mainstream know. Some people think crypto and Bitcoin are the same thing, and there's nothing. It's like the Xerox machine, right? It's not. It's a brand that dominates so much that it becomes synonymous. And when that happens, and people come in, right, I think that they're going to be naturally drawn to ideas that are relatable or approachable to them, right? RWAs are something that everybody understands because we all live in the real world. So I think things built on Bitcoin are going to have a distinct advantage when that happens.
Yeah. So what Web 2, a lot of people online that aren't in crypto, they would die. They would love, actually, they want to be part of these communities that are in crypto, because we're so vibrant, we're so committed, we're so energized about the community we're in. So I think, as you said, with a real world product that can get people to rally around and kind of join those two worlds, you give everybody what they want. You give the crypto community the new people that will potentially look at their projects and their sub communities, right? And then you also you give the Web 2 online masses the ability to join and be a part of Web 3. And because, I mean, we're in Web 3, we're as vibrant of communities that you can see anywhere, right? And so I think you create that bridge or that platform where everybody can join together. I think it really combines and it joins everybody together, and it's beneficial for
Yeah, I
all.
mean, I think you're right. I think digital communities, right? I mean, you even go back to 2008, right? And talking about, harnessing the power of a digital community and understanding the tech a little bit early, right? You look at the first Obama administration, if you guys remember, dominated social media. I mean, David Plouffe was the advisor that really put together the social media strategy and did it first, therefore got the most market share by far and really made an impact, right? And I think what's interesting about the kind of overlap in digital communities between Web 2 and Web 3 is that there's that financial incentive piece, right? Giving
I
somebody
am
to
not
build
sure
and
if you
rally
guys can
around
hear me or
something.
not. I can't hear the audio. I'm going to take a lap and come back in.
All right, sounds good, man. I don't even know what I was saying. Oh, like, just to rally around a common thing that everybody. It could be a sports team, right? You could be a Dallas Cowboys fan, and you can go online and talk about. But there's no upside, right? You can't even affect the outcome. You can't affect the outcome of the score. So there's not much you could do, right? It's just there to show support. I think what's interesting about the tie-in between Web 2 and Web 3 is that there is that financial upside. I'm gonna bring Board Asaka in. Yo, Board, can you hear us? I can hear you.
I can hear you now. I had to take a quick lap.
Right on, man. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. It's a beautifully sunny day for once in a week or so. So this feels really good. It's good to join you guys today.
Good to have you up here, man. I just opened it up. I didn't see your comments yet,
Oh,
but
dope.
interested in your take. I'm going to catch up here and read what you were saying. Okay, so actually, you're here. I don't need to read it. Well, I'm sorry. What were you saying when we were talking?
Well, I was voice texting, so I don't know if I don't know if Siri picked up my diction. But I was thinking about how oftentimes I feel as though we forget that we have community and we have audience, and how do we market to those two different segments? One important thing for me to remember is when I'm involved with the community, that really means I am taking my shovel and digging for the community and doing what I can for that project versus always asking what the project is going to do for me, because I have to keep in mind that the founders of the projects have already given me something. They've given me full rights to these digital artifacts or the digital assets, NFTs that are not ordinals, to do for the most part what I want to do with them, and then having access to the community of holders and collectors in that particular community to champion around the project, the PFP project, for instance. And then you have an audience that are pretty much just people that are interested in what's happening, but not taking action by investing in the project. So you have that audience that you do have to speak to as well if you want to get more people involved. And then I wanted to tap on the pudgy penguins. I'm a low pudgy holder, and one of the things I believe that Luca Nets and his team have done brilliantly is run, like we talked about last week. They really executed on the blueprint that the Board Ape Yacht Club and Yuga Labs laid out, and they executed brilliantly and flawlessly. One of the wonderful things that they've done is really take the NFT market and bring it into the real world with the plushie toys. There are millions and millions and millions of people that want these plushie toys. And the cool thing about the plushie toys is it comes with something. It doesn't just give you a plushie toy. It gives you a QR code that you can scan, and then you can get into the ecosystem, into the gaming system. So they have a double pronged approach. And now they have abstract, and they have the Pengu. They have the Pengu. So all of those things that they're doing, they're executing at a high rate. Um, and I definitely love the idea of having an NFT project that has a retail asset to it, because there are going to be many more people coming online. People love plushy toys. Plushy toys can be used in so many different ways. I'm actually working on a plushy project with a friend of mine for psychotherapy, and I think it's going to be an amazing project. And I suggested to her we get all of the marketing dialed in and we pitch it and try to get on the Shark Tank with this thing because it's just that brilliant. And there's a really good world use case for this product. And so that's just some of my takes on the NFT side of things. And when we talk about Bitcoin in the ordinal space, I would love to see a project come up with some type of ordinals project with plushies to offer that same utility that the pudgy penguins have done. So that was my take on it. Thanks for giving me that bandwidth and latitude.
No, of course, man. And I think, we spoke last week. So I think this kind of covers a little bit of what we talked about too, which is, you said the difference between community and audience, right? And I agree. I really look at it like, I was and you were as well in the brick and mortar retail game, right? You in the coffee world, or, in my case, restaurants, right? Entities and my regulars as the same. They're
Oh, you cut out, Bren.
100%.
There. I think Bren's glitching a little bit.
Yeah, Brent's glitching a little bit.
But I'll finish off his thought process because we did touch on it last week, and we were
did.
so in sync that we both have, from our respective histories of brick and mortar business owners, we have that strong community asset, and we really do all that we can for that community because they depend on us as we depend on them. So we show up for that community with all of our fervor and gusto, putting them first and foremost. And I believe that's where he was going to go. I hope. Are you back, Bren?
Yeah, he's like stuck.
No, he's still stuck.
Oh, yeah, we had a great conversation last week. I was in Steamboat on the mountain, but I jumped off and talked with Osaka for a while. It was quite a good conversation. We're kind of doing some of the same stuff and wanting to see how we could work together. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, cool. I agree with what you're saying, Osaka. It's very insightful.
Bren's texting me. He said, "Did we lose connection?" I said, "You did." Oh, so what kind of car you got there, Osaka?
This car is a vintage Honda Insight.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing little vehicle for driving around the city. And I have to go put this thing in a drop box. This is a car that goes up to the mountains on weekends. And so it's a nice little zippy car. It's a 2-seater.
Yeah.
It's about, I think this was the first or second hybrid car. And it's just a fun little car to drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great for parking in the city. It's great on gas. I fill up the tank, I think, once a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't drive that often to begin with, except when I need to make a quick run. So yeah, I need to drop this off to my brother. Little card and a little Tesla key card.
All right. I think we lost him too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did I?
Yeah.
Am I
First time I've seen Osaka.
You're back.
back?
Yeah, you're back.
Perfect. Great. So where is everybody at
So
in the country or the world?
I'm in Fort Worth, and Bren's in Pennsylvania,
That's right.
and Matt.
I'm in
Okay.
Utah.
Awesome. What part of Utah?
Salt Lake.
Ooh, I think I was in Utah once. Absolutely beautiful city.
Yeah. We've got the mountains. We've got it's a desert really around here. So we've got Lake Powell in the south. We've got Moab. Grand Canyon's not too far away. But yeah, we've kind of got all different types of terrain.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Cascade Mountain Range here in Washington State. You know, we have a desert, a rainforest, and we have these wonderful Cascade Mountains and Olympic Mountains that's really beautiful. except mountain.
Yeah, when I drive,
No, go ahead, please. Sorry.
yeah, sorry. When I drive to Washington, right? It's all through Idaho. It's dry, and then it's dry all the way even into Oregon, but then it just hits like a green wall, and it's just all trees from there on out.
Yeah, yeah. But please, sorry.
Did you mint Enigma by CyberSea?
I did not. I tried and I missed the boat.
There's still like
So I'm just gonna.
129 left, I think.
Oh, good.
So if you get a chance, I think it's really cool that it hooks up with your monkey and talks to it, basically works with it. So
Yeah, I'm actually excited about that to see what the technology and how they work together. And then also to see what's going to happen with OCM here in the coming weeks. There's a huge amount of excitement that's happening. And with the Enigma integration, my, what are the possibilities?
exactly. I don't know. Danny always has something up his sleeve, though.
Yeah. I was contemplating this morning after my meditation, what would transpire in the ecosystem should OCM or quantum cats reach 1 BTC?
Yeah. There's a good chance.
What would that look like? What would that feel like? What would that do to the entire Ordinal's ecosystem? And then my second part of that question, the answer came, okay, well, there would be FUD first and foremost, and there would be FUD second. And I think a lot of that would be based on people not believing in the founders and or the project to begin with, and then we're slow to get involved with the project. I think that's where the majority of FUD comes from.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy, and I could see it happening. I was doing some research earlier just about these early ordinal collections are just going to be something that are sought after one day. I think in 10 years from now, people are going to be like, well, those are the ones that are history. The ones on the the rare sats and the ones that came along first. So it'll be fun to watch just to see what happens over the next few years.
If that happens, Sean, I agree with you. But I feel like that is essentially the playbook that, or what we saw happen with ETH NFTs, right? Where the early ones, they become iconic from a provenance perspective. Like, that's wild, right? I mean, you have a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape or whatever. They withstood and stood out from the crowd, but with the lack of any other hook, I think it just becomes there's a block of them, and then a few emerge as the leaders long term, and maybe they all have value because in order they were early, but there's no justification. Like when you were saying that board, which is like Quantum Cats or whoever, like I think it's profound if there's a reason that they get to that price point, right? If there's a reason, then it's big. If it's just they have high value, I don't know. I think it's not real. It's not. You can't explain to the rest of the market even why. So I don't know if it moves the needle, other than it's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I also think that they're more of like digital artifacts, and we are creating like a digital history right now on Bitcoin, and I think it's a little bit different than NFTs in that sense.
Absolutely agree.
I agree with that. No, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that especially just the authenticity of the timing is going to be bigger because it's Bitcoin, right? It's a mother chain. So if it's something that's on a rare sat, or if it's something that was early, it's going to be more memorialized as being early because of the chain that it's on, right? I think with ETH NFTs, it's not as tied to the time, right? It's not as tied to the moment that it actually was inscribed as it is on Bitcoin. So I think you're right. And I think the art side of things is really interesting, right? Because that's when the authenticity is center stage. The provenance is there, right? So if it's an artist that is sought after and they created a master work that everybody wanted, and you can see that it's authentically on chain or inscribed at that time, I think that's huge. I think with the community based ones, I don't know. I feel like we're getting to a point where there needs to be a hook. There needs to be something where when I tell my aunt, my grandmother, my neighbor why it's so awesome, they get it. And that is a powerful position to be in. I don't care if it happened before or after Quantum Cats. If it is able to be explained and the value is agreed upon, that's the power moment.
And that's On-Chain Monkey.
Yeah,
I agree with On-Chain Monkey in that sense.
Yeah.
I think they are I really do. I know it's like a mantra, but I do think they are. Not to
100%.
limit them in any way,
I mean,
but they're the crypto punk of it. But I think they could be more, because the network seems more valuable. It's a fraternal sort of vibe that you don't even get with, I think, a lot of the ETH projects.
So just think about this.
That was baller. Think about this, and drops out.
gosh.
just leaves us with it. Think about this. Yeah.
Bye.
It's just it's conceptual. Think about whatever you want to think about, is what he was saying.
I read something the other day, or saw something somewhere, where people, are talking about early adopters of ordinals could, how did they say it, could hold pieces important as like early internet art. If that makes sense. It's kind of, but this is, forever inscribed on Bitcoin. So.
I apologize. I apologize, gentlemen. That was not a mic drop moment. But no, consider this. We have the On-Chain Monkey. We have the only ordinals or the only Ethereum-based or Solana-based NFT that has a birth certificate.
True.
We have immutability. I mean, it's complete. However, with the recursive technology, we can actually deconstruct these digital artifacts. And it's amazing to think about having a digital certificate of authenticity, i.e. a birth certificate for your ordinal. That is definitely revolutionary in my mind. And that is what sets these ordinals apart from standard NFTs. And I wanted to go back and tap on that whole we hit the ceiling. I think I feel that we need to continue to hit and aim for the ceiling, because the ceiling keeps moving, and we have 1 million people maybe in the NFT space, in the ordinal space. And I feel as though the marketing shift continues to happen for the same million or so people. And I'm just arbitrarily picking that number. This is where I feel having the Pudgy Penguins breaking that ceiling and breaking that mold and having these plushies in the real world and retail to potentially get others to really see the potential of getting involved in crypto and NFTs and ordinals. I think that's where the benefit of what they've done comes in. So we haven't begun to hit the ceiling, and when we do, we need to keep pushing. It's the surfer mentality. Hang 10, lean in a little bit more. Because it's continually changing every day.
Yeah, no, I agree. When I say hit ceiling, I don't think it means like, hey, this is the top, we can't go any further. I think what I'm saying is we need to break through that. And what do you need to break through it, right? And whenever we say this kind of stuff, I think Luca Netz is a genius. I think that community's unbelievable. I think they laid out a blueprint. It's never anything about that, right? Let's say that there was a new ordinal that popped out tomorrow, and they're called Dopey Dolphins, and they have bobbleheads, right? And we're all excited about it, okay? And look at right now. You have 4 people talking like this, 4 adults, right? We're all 30s or above. There's 150 people watching, and this is one of many, many things happening out there right now. And we're all sitting here talking about Dopey Dolphins, and we're figuring out how to get bobbleheads to scale and do. it's hard because you're confined to something. I think, Pudgy Penguins, I think is a unicorn. I think they're unbelievable. They're gonna be around for a long time, but they came out as the PFP part and then sorted out what the utility is going to be, which they had to do. They were an early mover. That's why they're a pioneer. I think now that, brands that are being launched now have the benefit of hindsight, and you're able to look and say, okay, well, let's think about giving a community tools and being able to build something that's easier to build, right? Where we can take smart people in a space like this and everybody can have an impact on the outcome in a way that's not hard to figure out, or doesn't have, that is maybe either more mainstream or more applicable. And I think when that's put in place, that's where real magic's going to happen, right? And what you give those individuals to impact that brand, right? I don't know, and I can easily, I don't know, but if you have a Pudgy Penguin, let's say, do people sell more of them, or can they, if they bring awareness, are more going to be bought? I don't know. But I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think the market's great for that. But I'm talking about giving people the ability to build a brand that is maybe more understandable, mainstream, and has a little less friction. I think it's going to start to get really interesting, and how people in that community are able to participate in the upside of that brand that's being built starts to get really fascinating to me. Because if you connect all those pieces and you allow thousands of people like us four in this room to all proliferate a brand together, and they have the tools, I don't know. I think that's going to be what is that elixir that a traditional brand could never beat, right? You can't hire 1,000 people to compete this way. And overnight, a strong brand can have hundreds, if not thousands of people building that brand in a holistic way.
Yeah.
All good points.
Yeah, I think brands are going to be built differently in the future. I think that's kind of what we're trying to do with One Mug, is build a brand different than most brands have been built so far. And I think if, when we're successful at it, we'll have a model that other people can use.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think obviously that's why that's why we're here, right? As all of us, or especially the guys that are on stage now or holding the space, is like, I think what gets really provocative and a cool mental exercise is like, okay, so brands will be decentralized, right? I agree, but what is a decentralized brand, right? How far do you take that? Right? How much? I think it's the epitome of being decentralized. And the thesis is you lose control when it's decentralized, right? We don't like the control of central banks or financial institutions. That's why crypto comes out there, because it's decentralized. There's not as much control. I think what's interesting about a brand that decides to be decentralized is you have to be comfortable with giving up that control, right? That's an art in and of itself. If you give up that control, I think you lean into the decentralized nature of the brand, but you're going to lose an element of narrative and messaging and all of that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, right? Board, you and I are from the the brick and mortar food and bev game, right? Is what does that look like when you grow that model in a decentralized manner? We lost Board again. Every time I either say his name or he says ours.
Well, so people first got into crypto and mainly are in crypto for one thing, is because price go up, right? They're going to be holding something that they perceive the price is going to go much higher. And so I feel like a lot of these, what happens is you've got, if it's a NFT collection, it's the price can go up, right? But it's based on how big and how many people want one of those NFTs. And so I feel like a lot of these collections and communities are figuring out ways to make perceived value in the community in general. And so, but really there's owning the NFT or the Ordinal, and that the community is going to get clear. There's going to be a Danny out there that's going to be bringing in artists, that's going to be growing the community, and therefore they can see that their digital asset is going to go up high in value. I think that there is, so it's really value that everybody's after. And I think there's, it is a great question, because what if you see, there's only a limited amount of ordinals, or in a certain collection, there's 10,000. So really there's kind of a, how big can you build that community when there's 10,000 of them, right? And so how many are for sale, how floor price going up? It's kind of a little bit of a different metric than like 21 million Bitcoins are out there. And
I don't know, Matt, let me throw something at you while you're on this vein, right? Because I don't know if that's true. I think logically it makes sense. And I think that there is a large element of that, right? Meaning a community member that is putting effort in, engaging, whatever, that's because they have some kind of financial benefit. But, looking at whether it's meme coin cycle and even NFTs, right? Is there a correlation between the people that get attention and how much of that asset they have? I don't think so. I think half the time in the meme coin movement, you had people out there pumping a token that they didn't even own or owned a very small amount of. I think it's a part of the excitement of being in a community that's doing something and having an impact and being heard, and all the benefits of knowing other people that are in that mission with you. I don't think the loudest people were the biggest bags, right? Now, do I think that because there's a financial alignment that it works? Is it necessary? Absolutely. But I don't know if the magic of building something decentralized like a brand is directly in I make more money, because I don't think that's the magic of all the attention that it gets.
No,
I think that's a piece of it.
No, I totally agree with you. And I wasn't talking about like a brand. That's a different animal. There's automatic value built in, right? And what's cool about a brand is you can have an infinite amount of members, or community members that own. You could have them on a digital asset, and so therefore the how big the community can get is infinite, right? Especially with something like, something that everybody shares in common. But I was just kind of thinking about this, because it's a great thought to have. One thing with price appreciation on these digital assets. Okay, so decentralization is great for censorship resistance, but decentralization is terrible for price in any market. So the reason why the price of Bitcoin has gone up, a lot of the reason why the price of Bitcoin has gone up a lot is because Satoshi held, was it 5% of the total supply, 20%, whatever, and so that we're in wallets that are assumed that are never going to be sold, right? The reason why the top stocks in the world, why their prices went up, is because they're the people that owned them. So the stocks were centralized. So Bitcoin's most of Bitcoin was centralized in Satoshi's wallets. So centralization is great for price. It's the best thing for price. When Jeff Bezos owns most of the stock of Amazon, and he has an incentive to make the company big, and Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs, those stocks did the best. They own the most shares, and those stock prices went up the highest. But so I just wonder how can you fit that formula into like a ordinary or a common PFP collection or NFT collection? How could you build that metric in there?
Build what metric?
Well, just I don't know, just the centralization of price. If you had the owner holding a lot of it, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think there's comps, right? There's always comps or analogies. Like, I think it's a mixed bag of, number one, there's some sort of, incentive alignment. I think that's great, right? I think that's what Web3 brings to the table. But I also think, you look at Keep It in Coffee, right? You look at Black Rifle. Okay, so I see a bunch of people wearing Black Rifle T-shirts, right? Well, what's really the difference between wearing a T-shirt in real life and having a PFP, right? You're attaching your identity to a brand, right? It's the same thing. And why do people wear a Black Rifle T-shirt, right? They wear a Black Rifle T-shirt not because of the coffee, because they believe in the mission, right? You maybe because of the coffee, there's that, but when the brand has a mission, right? And usually that mission actually contradicts the financial alignment or the upside, right? Because you're giving a piece of that in Black Rifle's case, right? So there's actually a complete disconnect. But if the mission is there, people are willing to align their identity with it and build it because they believe in the mission. If that's parlayed with a financial upside, that's fantastic. But ultimately, I think it's something that they believe in, right? So if you're able to build a brand, a tokenized brand that people believe in because of the mission, and also incentivized to build it because they see upside, I think that's the 1-2 punch that makes it, far different than anything else that's been built.
Exactly, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with it. I think the value. Let's say on-chain monkey, and I think the value is the community. There's these satoshis coming out. There's the connections within the community. You can interact with everybody, and so that the community is getting bigger. So we don't have to say like price go up for the community to be really successful, I guess is what you're saying. People hook on to value in different ways. And I think that's what, I was alluding to why people were in crypto in general at first, was because they could hold something and they knew price was going to go up. Everybody was here just to make money. But it looks like we're having this evolution of the space to where people are finding value elsewhere with community and with
Totally
mission and a vision, and I think.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Yeah, you're right. Think about everybody. I don't know Board as much. Sean, right? Sean, you post about, let's say you post on social media about on-chain monkey. Are you posting so that the price of your asset incrementally goes up? I don't think so. I know that if I post about a brand that I'm involved in, it's not because, oh, geez, it's worth $3,000. It could be worth 3,500 if we all post. No, and Matt, I'm agreeing with you. I think it's the same thing. It's no different than why do I root for the Eagles? I don't get anything out of that, right? But there's this human feeling that we did it. Like we did it. We win the Super Bowl. What the fuck does that even mean? Who cares? I don't get anything out of the Super Bowl. I'm not getting paid. But there's this feeling that I'm with all these other people that I have something in common with, and we did it, right? I think with posting about OCM, it's because you want to be number one. Why? Is it because if the prices of everything went down and on-chain monkey didn't change a thing, but they came into number one spot, people would be just as happy. It's just the fact that a group did it together. It's not all about the financial upside. I think the financial upside is the magic elixir that makes it a unicorn, right? But I don't think it's needed. It's not. You had people using Bored Apes, PFPs just to have them. They didn't own the ape. They just wanted to be a part of the whole movement. Like people have a human need to do it together and achieve something, and feel like they were in at the bottom and they're at the top. People say, I like the band when they didn't even have a CD out yet. Now they got a Grammy. I was here. No one cares. There's no financial upside, but you want to feel that you were a part of something.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ben, I think that's where.
Go ahead, Board.
One Mug has the same opportunity. Building the community and the audience around the brand of One Mug. I mean, we have that huge upside potential and opportunity. I mean, we could chip the bags. You scan your bag. There's something waiting for you in that bag, almost like the Cracker Jack box. You know, you had a prize inside that box of cereal or inside that box of popcorn. You didn't really care about the product that was in it, but you just wanted that prize that was contained within it. Didn't know what it was, but you knew you were going to get something. The difference with the opportunity we have with One Mug is you're helping to build a sustaining legacy for farmers and for those farming communities. And in turn, you're going to get a wonderful experience, not just a bag of coffee, but you're going to get a wonderful experience from getting that bag of coffee or collecting that bag of coffee or whatever else is going to come down the road with that. I think that's part of the wonderful opportunity we have.
Totally, man. I think I think the financial upside, put that aside for a second because that can all be aligned. That's what blockchain is, right? Things do well, price goes up. I think, I think zooming out, I think crypto needs a story of all of that attention and drive having an impact, right? It's always about price go up. When people think about crypto in the mainstream, think about crypto bros driving a Lambo, and that's kind of the success story, right? But I think if you align a mission correctly, the success story becomes something that's far more inspirational, aspirational, and has more impact, right? If you look at a region, in our case, right, we focused on one region where the water towers are going. We just got another water tower going up yesterday, right? Can the crypto community push something and completely change a whole region's lives, right? Can you give and have a rebirth for an entire part of the world because of this crypto community, right? The outcome isn't just price go up. That's the byproduct of working hard, right? Can the outcome be that we transform an area that needs it, right? And not only look at them as separate, but make them one of us. That's our community as well. I think all things aside, crypto needs that story because that's something I could tell my grandmother, my neighbor, my brother. It's a story that I can point to and say, what can crypto do? I'm not going to pull out a chart and explain all different curves and all that BS. That hasn't worked. But if I can point to an outcome and say, look at what this did. Communities are important in crypto because look what happens when they're galvanized. Look what happens when they have a mission. We just did something that every corporation combined has never done, right? They don't care about it. We can be human and we can have an impact. That's what crypto is. That's what decentralization is. That's the narrative that the mainstream needs to be like, okay, I kind of get it now. I can kind of see what this is. You can build something together. I get it. I think you need a use case.
I think, Bryn, that you are just a little bit ahead of the curve, and I think when people are posting, I think 70% of the people literally are on X posting about their digital asset for the price, just for the price to go up, and that's all they care about. So, but I'm still agreeing with you. Because I really believe that there is more to this technology and space than just that. There's more value than just being selfishly wanting just your asset to go up. Because usually when people sell, they're like gone and they're off to the next thing. That's why it evolved to meme coins, to where they're just now just chasing launches for 2 days and on to the next one. But yeah, but the thing is you're just realizing where this space is moving to. Is there's a community aspect to it where you don't have to just be posting just for your bags, but you can be posting for a movement, a vision, that you're part of doing something better. It's around something that you genuinely love, right? You don't just think that it's the best, that it's going to be the best PFP that's going to go up in price the most because it's got one of the most hustling founders. I'm just talking.
I agree. I also don't think they're mutually exclusive, right? Which is the beautiful part. Meaning, let's say that 70%, 90% doesn't make a difference, right? Let's say the reason that they're posting about a brand is so that their asset price goes up, right? Great. So that's what they're doing, and that's totally fine. And then what is the byproduct of them posting about it? It's attention, right? Now, right now, all that attention to boost their bags, to pump their bags, is to get other people that can buy that token to buy more of it, right? What the magic in a brand that isn't confined to crypto is the outcome is attention, but anybody can participate by buying a product, right? So they're seeing it over and over. They're seeing more attention around a product than they've seen before. Who cares why the person's posting about it, right? It could be for their own bags, could be for the mission, doesn't make a difference. End of the day, you're able to capitalize on that attention. Right now, you can't capitalize on that attention because the only way someone can participate is they figure out how to get a digital wallet. They figure out what chain's on. You have to educate them for 5 months. Then they're going to finally figure it out and they might buy it. That's too long of a chain. If the attention that they're getting is focused around the mission, even if it's to pump their own bags, the mission still gets attention. And that in the marketplace is an outlier. You don't see that. You don't see, nobody can, pump, shock watches. And because they're typing about it, someone can go buy it. No, there's always a disconnect. There's no reason for them to post about it except for the digital asset. I think if the byproduct of all that attention is a consumer good, you're in a really, really interesting place. And even if you are ahead of the curve, meaning people don't really care, and I don't disagree with you, that whole idea that I think it's catching a wave, right? It's the same thing as Amazon probably being a little ahead, but then being prepared when people are willing to buy things online. I think right now is you set up that kind of foundation where some people are posting about it for personal benefit, some are posting about the mission. But as the market does catch up, if you already have been paddling, you're going to catch that wave when everybody else is just kind of trying to catch up to it. So I think in our case, I don't care what someone's posting, right? If it's for your own good, great. If it's for the greater good, great. I don't care. The fact that it's getting attention is going to bridge to the mainstream because it's as simple as saying, I'm going to try that coffee because everybody's talking about it. That's why you buy things like coffee. I buy Blue Bottle coffee because so many people are talking about it. That's the only reason you make a $20 purchase, right? So if everybody's talking about it, that's the only metric you need, right? I don't know why they're talking about it. It's fucking, who cares? There's enough momentum around it where I'm going to give it a shot because all it costs is $20 and hey, this product is great. And that's it. That's the end of the thought process.
So you're saying being in a brand in Web3, you could be authentic in all of those. You could be
of course
authentic in mission. You could be authentic in your engagement with the community. You can be authentic with buying the product and enjoying it, and also having a digital asset. But yeah, so I totally agree. I think that you can have all the best worlds, have everybody be involved in it and participating, and everybody benefiting off it.
Dude, the biggest innovation to come out of the blockchain, in my opinion, is communities and attention. That's it. That we're all in a room about this big with balls bouncing everywhere, because every time you get that attention, it's just to get to the top of that room and sell things, and then that room finds something else and it sells. You got to go to a bigger room. I think that the genius that has come out of the blockchain is that you can have a digital community that has aligned interest and can get a disproportionate amount of attention. We don't need to keep crypto as the only centerpiece in all of that. Take the same blueprint and just make the product not a token. Make it so it can be a token or it can be a product. The mainstream doesn't want tokens. They haven't bought them, right? Like we're still a very small sect. We can say that we're going to educate all day long. That's great. I think people are educated when they're driven by value. And if that value is a product that they want, then they're going to want to learn more. We're leading with education. That doesn't happen in the real world. I don't learn about something. Someone doesn't come to me and I have to learn how to buy their stuff. Like, that's crazy. I get the product and then I want to know more about the brand. That's the sequence. So I think unless there is some sort of value, whether that be a product or whatever that people want, you're not going to get anybody to come over. We have to lead with value, not education. That's crazy talk. So I think, and I'm not talking even specifically about us, but I think when brands realize that crypto brings attention and digital communities, like if I could have, when I had restaurants, if somebody would have come to me with a package and said, hey man, I have this package, I'm going to sell it to you, it's $20,000 a month, but you're going to have thousands of people using your brand as a PFP and talking about you all day long. And every time you post, you're going to get hundreds of comments that are flattering about you. What does it cost? I'll buy it. It doesn't even make sense. Give it to me. That is the very basic level of what an Ordinal project is, or an NFT project.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
I think that's, yeah. So brands have disproportionate advantage right now to do something different in the space that actually helps the entire crypto space, and it brings it to web 2. It brings it to the masses. And so you're giving everybody what they want.
Yeah, I mean, to the point, like, look at Nelk Boys, right? Look at some of these people out there now, right? These groups or these entities or whatever you want to call them that have mastered attention. Nelk Boys can drop beer. No one cares what it tastes like. They just have so much attention, they're going to buy the beer, right? Like, I think it's same thing goes true with this analogy with blockchain. It's the attention that is the asset, right? And if you have that attention and you have that kind of structured attention where people are using it as a PFP and incentivized to be talking about it, like, give them something to talk about. Like, if you give them something to talk about that isn't just the same thing as everybody else, but slightly different because the community is different, then it's weaponry that isn't just useful in crypto. That's weaponry that is massively more impactful on the mainstream because they've never seen that before. It's like a hack. It's like you have a cheat code, and they're not going to be assessing where is this coming. Is it because they have an asset and because they have this thing that goes up in price? They just see people talking about it. That's the whole war. The war is for attention.
No shit. Sorry.
I'm already awake. What are you doing?
That's my alarm that I have to go pick up my son from school.
I thought it was an alarm for me to breathe or to stop talking. But no, it's like an obsessive thing. I think, whatever that product is, right? I think it's super important that the product fits the model, right? Where it's an easy purchase that people are consuming all the time, where there is an opportunity to get brand loyalty because although it's consumed, like, I think beer is interesting, right? I don't drink, but I think that's the kind of brand that builds community for some reason. Alcohol, they build brand loyalty in a weird way. Like loyalty in any kind of fanfare, like artists, whatever. But I think a product needs to be something that's consumed, that doesn't have it's not gate kept or bottlenecked by high prices where you can only buy one and whatever. It needs to be something that you're constantly consuming, that you're able to have brand loyalty, because that loyalty is the same thing that a community has. They're transferable to an extent, right? So anyway, I'm excited when we can start talking about more about what we're doing. But I think we're selfish. I think we're hitting this.
Is that product coffee?
Yeah, fuck
brand?
yeah, it's coffee, man. Yeah. Absolutely, dude. And yeah. And I think the mission's really important because that's really what that connective tissue is. When you go beyond price, you can withstand price go down. You can withstand that because it's going to happen. If the greater good is happening, if the mission's never deterred, you can weather those storms, right? When there's no context, it's hard to weather a price go down storm. So I think there needs to be something there.
I agree.
Anyway, we're way over time. I had fun. That was a fun space for me. Bored. I appreciate you coming in, brother. I know we have another talk this week coming up, but and obviously of happy hours that we have some cool guests coming through. But anything you guys want to close out with, or should we close this thing down?
Yeah, no. I really appreciate you bringing me up. I apologize that I've been going since I joined the space today. I will definitely be a lot more stable in the next room. I just had a lot of running around to do today, and I apologize for the service jumping in and out. I think it was partly because of me driving that I kept getting dropped out of the space. So I apologize to everybody that's listening and to you guys on stage. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
No problem. It's been great to meet you.
Right on. Thank you. Same. And we'll do it again. We'll run it back.
Right on. We'll be here tomorrow. You're always welcome. And we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Sweet.
I want to say real quick, thanks to On-Chain Monkey community for building us another water tower. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, dude. And I think we got some wrinkles coming out with that one, make it even a little bit more interesting. People are going to love that. I think even has a little more impact. So we can let's open up tomorrow's happy hour with that. I know we're not allowed it's the most bizarre thing, that community, the On-Chain Monkey community is not normal because it's the only group that would do something like that and not want any credit. It's just bizarre. Right. Like it's when I say bizarre, I mean beautiful, like mind-boggling. Yeah. Hey, here's something massive, but we don't want credit. That's not normal. But we will talk a lot about the water tower itself.
And let's put together a tweet so we can get that out there. I'd like to.
Oh, we will.
Okay, cool.
I promise. We got a lot of content coming from our guys over there.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you guys all tomorrow.
Right on, guys.
Everybody
See
in the
ya.
audience, thank you for
All
tuning
right.
in.
Yeah.
Amen. See you guys.